very happy and extremely honored to have 6 accomplished women here talking to me. Very honored to do that and very honored to host this roundtable for your story. We're going to be talking about the changing paradigm of remote work. We've been working remote for about a year now, and a lot of things changed. Is the glass ceiling about to be shattered? Do we see more women in the workforce? Is remote work enabling gender diversity? And that's pretty much the summary of all our discussion today. So the first question is, most of us are working from home, and what are your views on it? What are the takeaways? Do you see more women joining the workforce because of that? How does it work according to you? So probably Aishwarya?
Yeah, sure. So Vishakha, I think the biggest lesson all of us have learned in the past year is that we aren't tied to a location to get our work done or to run our companies, right? And organizations have learned to trust employees and think of output-based evaluations rather than face time or just time-based ones. We don't just look at employees anymore as people who come to work and then mysteriously disappear, but we've been forced to acknowledge them as holistic people, and this has the potential to change everything for us, provided we remember what we have learned in the last 1 year, right? And especially when it comes to women, I think it's a little tough to generalize the experience, but on an average, though, based on what I have seen both in my organization and otherwise, women are better able to balance home life and work life, and they're not forced to make a choice of one or the other. We have been able to successfully remove the stigma that was otherwise attached to work from home, and that adds a lot more hours to everybody's life. And for women, especially during their caregiving years, I think they are now in a position to maintain full-time jobs and avoid losing traction in their careers, which usually is the biggest impediment for women as they go up the ladder, right? So this whole 1 year of working from home, where all of us as employees and organizations have learned that this is a very, very workable solution, has given confidence to a lot of young women and women who are in a stage of their career where they keep thinking they have to make a choice between one or the other. And of course, the latest rules on the Indian technology services work from home also have helped, and women in these industries now have a range of choices available to them, from flexible work to different employment opportunities. Okay. So has it brought in more women into the workforce? I think it's definitely opened a lot of doors, right? Especially if you think about women in small towns who are unable to make that move because of family commitments or any such thing. Now it's very much an option on the table for them to just stay wherever they are, not uproot their lives, but continue to have successful careers, right? And that's, I think, the biggest hope that I have and the biggest learning I think we will take in. There is just one caution that comes to my mind as this work from home pandemic shuts down and organizations start welcoming people back. I see a lot of organizations are leaning towards providing full work from home and moving into that situation completely. But I think a lot of organizations will be somewhere in between, where they have the option of continuing work from home, plus some of them coming back to office. Now, in such a situation, if we end up where women tend to choose the work from home option and the men tend to come back, are we still able to maintain this non-discrimination that we've been able to pull off the last year? Because it shouldn't be out of sight, out of mind. I don't know what she's doing, but then there are 10 men in the room here who I can see are working. So I think we need to be very careful as organizations to make sure that we continue to focus on output based and not face time based. If we take that learning away, I think it would have been a really big win for women from the past year.
Agree. One real point that I liked is we've started trusting employees, and that's a very important point. And I feel that everybody, irrespective of the gender, face some unprecedented situations with elderly care, child care, and people have started to be aware of what really those problems are. And I think that would also affect people who are the policy makers, because there's more awareness now. What do you think, Anu?
Yeah, so initially I think people did struggle to do the work from home because of lack of support at home, because of these lockdowns, and you have to manage between these things, between the home course and as well as the work. But I think now women are generally adaptive, very resilient. So they have figured out a new normal and they're trying to manage it, right? So that's something that I see is really working now. That's one. The second thing I also see is like, what Aishwarya said, the organizations are also understanding that this is going to be the future. And they are changing their policies. They are also trying to bring in training to the managers as how to manage people working from home, that is managed through results, not through simply by the hours that they put. The third thing that also opens up is that the different kinds of work types are coming mainstream. Like, for example, the gig economy or part-time jobs, consultative jobs, all of this, it's not like you have to stick to a large organization and be a permanent employee. That is also going away, and you can take up jobs of a different kind and still continue, is also coming mainstream. The other thing that I also see is that because of this new norm of work from home, building culture in an organization is also something that people are trying to look at differently, because people are not inside the organization and people are outside, and you need to have a different way of managing the culture. And women, with their empathy, with their emotional leadership, can play a very strong role in helping the organization build that culture. So I sincerely see this is opening up a huge opportunity for women who otherwise would not have taken up these activities, would have taken some sideline jobs because they're not able to spend time in office and have some inhibitions. But now this is really opening up for them. And the organizations are also seeing a great value that this gender can bring in and then take the seat. That's what I see.
What about you, Gunjan? What do you think?
I agree with what Aishwarya and Anu was saying, right? I think it has brought in a lot of women into, or at least given them hope in terms of, when they're living remote or things that they wouldn't have originally gone after as such, right? And they have that opportunity and time now to go after that. But at the same time, right, I can also see that it's going to be very difficult. Like Aishwarya was saying, right? Like right now, I think there is the other gender, right, or men actually do appreciate the kind of things or the chores that females have to actually do at home as well, right? Because they are sharing the burden, and I do see more and less that they are sharing the burden as such, right? But the major burden still falls on the lady of the house, right? When you have to actually balance most of the things as such, right? And so when and the pressures on the organization, right? From if we don't make the policies of having flexible hours or flexible work or job sharing, or making sure that we are able to give that, like Anu was saying, outcome based work to people, then this is not going to stick, right? Because you can stretch the day. Right now I can see the calendars going back to back, not even having a 15-minute break, having meetings in the lunch time and breakfast times, and all those kind of things. And we tend to prioritize all of that, right? Because we want to capture this opportunity that we have been given to accelerate our journeys, right? But once we go back to work, one is that how do we keep including those folks that are still working from home, men and women alike, that choose to do that, and how do we actually create processes that promote that inclusion. And second is that how do we make sure that we are able to give that outcome and that piece of work back to those folks that can actually contribute remotely as well. So I think that to me is the biggest puzzle that we have to solve in the future. We shouldn't have that short-term memory loss and then go back to what we were doing earlier on.
Very valid point. Pooja, you've been in a non-engineering field. How is it different for you?
Oh, actually, I come from a non-engineering background from study standpoint, but I have been in engineering like all throughout, right? So I have like a slightly different take on this entire situation. that while the flexibilities that work from home provides is going to continue attracting women, force in the mainstream corporate job. But I think what women are really looking for is outside of flexibility, to have a more supportive, cordial, and trusting, culture in the organization. And as long as companies are able to demonstrate that they have that kind of a culture, which has equal treatment towards both male and female employees, and they are treated equally, they're paid equally, they're given equal respect, and given equal positions in the organization. I think that will not only help women employees to come in the corporate area, but also help them excel in the roles that they're working on, right? So our job as women leaders should not be only to attract women employees, but also make them comfortable or give them a stage to grow, and how they can lead into lead a life that is actually going to be into like a leadership role, how they're going to grow personally as well as professionally. And when you're looking at all of these things, right, just saying that work from home as a flexibility is a good perk. Sure, it is like a good perk, but I think we need to focus on the entire package. And that is where we'll make a lot of difference, right? And that is where we'll see more women people on the panels, like these. And yeah, I think we should focus on that more. While I see that work from home brings in some kind of flexibility, but it also means that when we're looking at women who have certain responsibilities, in their household areas, we're also looking at some kind of divided attention, right? So, so that is one thing that we will have to keep into consideration if we want to look at such kind of a setup to be running for a long time. For a short time, when pandemic was running, we were looking at, we were actually struggling to make this a new normal. I think everything was okay. But the moment we start, running this like, a rolling wheel, we will know that we will have to start measuring a little bit more than what we're doing today, right? And that is where the difference will be. And that is where flexibility will start taking like a smaller role for women employees, and other aspects will start kicking in as more important areas to focus on for organizations and for women employees alike.
Very fair point. And probably that brings me to the next question is, to your point on the support policies and mentoring and helping women to rise up the ladder, switching from management technology to management, vice versa. What do you think is the current state of inclusion right now? Are there such policies in place? Where are we right now, and where are we moving?
So I think a lot of companies have to make efforts in not only building policies, but also demonstrating to the larger group that we have such policies available. So let's take an example of LogiNext, right? I took a break. I took a 1-year break in my career from my last organization, and I joined LogiNext back at no compromise at all. So I was never, obviously there was a question asked that why, would you take a break? I had my own reasons for that. And when I went back into the, employment stature, I went into a zero compromising state. I did not have like a lower hand in negotiations. So, when you see all of these things, people around do know that the companies value employees. So having a policy is good, but demonstrating the policies in action and executing those policies, and even showing it to a larger audience is such a beautiful thing. Like when I was introduced as as a person who has been in leadership roles in product management and the IT for all throughout my career, but took a break to be an artist, right? To explore my creativity. And now I understand that I really enjoy this more, and I'm back in the workforce. So when you start, demonstrating that how you execute those policies and how you bring in, like equality, and how you have non-discriminative kind of a nature of policies that you have, that's where the fun really starts. And that's where, people start believing whatever you say, right? I mean, I can say that, yeah, I have this policy, I have that policy, you can go work from home for et cetera, et cetera. You can relocate, et cetera, et cetera. Like LogiNext also, even not even during the pandemic, even before the pandemic, we did have, flexible working hours. We did have flexibility in terms of relocation if people wanted to do that, and not only women, male employees alike, right? So when you start demonstrating it, that's where people start believing what you're saying. And once people start believing what you're saying, they want to continue working with you for a long term, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we need programs at every single level. Like I started my career 21 years back where there were hardly any women in technology. Most of my colleagues thought that I would get married in 6-7 years and leave the workforce. And so I don't deserve any promotions or any opportunities. And I had to convince them that, no, I'm not getting married. I'm going to be here. Even if I do get married, I'm going to be here. So we've come a long way. And I do see role models here in this room. What do you think, Shraddha?
Yeah, I think, Vishakha, it's very important to communicate and speak up. If you feel that there's this opportunity that you're missing out because you're the female, you should speak out about it. And only if you make your voice heard, right, that is when things will align in your path. Like even at PharmEasy, like I joined 4.5 years back. I've got 7 years of experience. I'm an engineering manager here. How did that come out? Like, because they appreciated the fact that I was an early employee and I knew things about the system, right? And it's very weird that females are supposed to be best at communication, right? But when it comes to asking about that promotion or asking about that opportunity, somewhere we shy away. And I do not know. I think we just have to set some standards that it's okay to fail, it's okay to make mistakes, but you should just communicate about it. You should talk it out. So,
any points to add, Jaya?
So I definitely agree that we've come a really long way. So situations are a lot different now than it used to be before. I think it's because of a lot of leaders. Like we've had very, very strong, good women leaders, like all over the world, right? Take Indra Nooyi, for example. Like these women are like really inspirational, and they've spoken out. Sheryl Sandberg, like her book Lean In. So initiatives like this have been taken right from the beginning, and I think we're very, very lucky at this moment, because we're in a time where everyone is aware about the situation. So some of them are acting up, but some are just passively listening. But I think the awareness is there wherever it is necessary. So speaking about work from home situation, I think the pre-pandemic and post-pandemic has really thrown light, because prior to this, work from home was treated as something, an option reserved for someone who's maybe not that committed, who probably, I mean, if somebody took work from home, they were treated as though their work was less of a priority and they would eventually leave the company and all kinds of taboos, right? So I think this is really a boon for like the whole world, where each and every one was forced to do work from home. So everybody has like personal experience now as to how challenging it actually is. And it's proven that it actually works. So I think it's an eye-opener. So nobody needs to explain anymore that work from home is also for somebody who is, who can be taken seriously. So I think it has broken that barrier for good. And going ahead, not just women, I think even men have begun to understand that staying at home, especially in certain roles, turns out to be more productive than being on hands, especially in technology companies, because it certainly gives you the focus time. So whenever you need to communicate with your peers, you have all kinds of tools nowadays where you can communicate like really well. Yeah. And when you need your quiet time to just focus and do your coding or do your design work, and it really gives you that space. So I think that way everybody's experienced it, like irrespective of gender. And it's an option and it's no longer an option. There are certain roles which are permanently work from home, and certain companies taking this in a very different way. So the likes of Facebook and Twitter, companies at that large scale have shown us that it's possible to even run unicorn companies from home, right? And it has advantages not just to employees and women or men, it also has a lot of advantages for the companies as well. So they're able to provide something they weren't able to provide before, the comfort of home, right? So it's really up to us as to how we utilize this going ahead, and how we take advantage of the situation. In terms of inclusion, so according to the McKinsey report, at the entry level, the percentage is still at 47%. So 47% of the entry level workforce are still women, but it drops to 37% at a manager level, and it continues to drop till the C-suite levels. So that is a completely different problem and a very serious one, which we've faced for like generations now. But I think the work from home is one of the many tools that is going to help bridge this gap, where people can transition from the entry level positions to C-suite. I think we will see a gradual uprise going ahead, and we should definitely aim for 50% by 2025. And with the current awareness, if it's capitalized well, I think we can get there.
Of course, of course. And talking about programs at every level, I think Atlassian has a good program at every level. I was part of I hosted a hack at home for women engineering colleges, and we had 2,500 girls registering for it. It was really, really successful, and I'm happy to see so many girls participating. These were tier 2 colleges, and women engineering colleges. So 10 of them registered, and it was a great event. So like you said, 47%, but then we need to take it forward to 47%.
Exactly. We cannot let them drop out in the funnel. You know, we need bottom of the funnel needs to be like wide.
Absolutely.
That's what we should aim at.
Absolutely. And I'm sure most companies have mentoring programs for everybody, and not just women, but everybody at different levels. Talking about that, any success stories that you would want to cite in your organizations? Maybe Anu, you can start.
Right. So, so from that personal experience, right? So a lot of times when we are going through that growing up in our careers, we have a lot of doubts in our head whether we are doing the right thing. We doubt ourselves, and we need really a support. So a peer network and as well a mentor is extremely important for us to lean on and to learn from, right? So that you can always try and bounce your ideas, bounce your path forward, and then take some help and support from there. So what has happened in DXE is we have created a program, She Leads program. So which is not only helping a woman to become a good leader, training them and exposing them for different things, helping them on a project, but also it creates that cohort itself becomes a peer network for them who are coming from different parts of the world globally, and as well as from their different, from different departments as well. So with a different background altogether. So it helps them to create a good peer network and on whom we can lean on. And secondly, it also helps us to be as people who are little, have experience, become mentors to them. And then we try and help them to see how to, hone their skills so that they can become better. So that's what has helped the organization these programs to succeed. Otherwise, doing some theoretical programs, having some trainings, and then enabling them, and then saying that so many people are being trained, so many women leaders are there, is good. But I think it has to be practical as well. And the practicality comes from where you have real leaders, helping them, supporting them. That's one. But a lot of inhibitions are lost when you can have a peer network on whom you can lean and learn from, right? And that is very important to create that network. And I think that has worked very well. And DXE has really done that very well for us and as well as for my juniors. And I'm very happy about it.
Interesting. Jaya?
Definitely. I think, so one is the mentoring route, which is good initiatives. But I've always been, a believer of self-learning. And I think this is something everybody should do. I've been a believer of self-learning since day one. So I taught myself how to code. All the MVPs, like prior to Streak, were built using all the skills I acquired myself. And I think now MOOC has become, the next way to go ahead. So things are changing for good. And I think the learning initiative is something that everybody needs to take up on their own and keep upskilling themselves, teaching themselves new skills, staying on top of their industry, not just their company details and get sort of lost in the day to day, but keep a track on how the entire sector is doing, like how are other peers doing, how are other companies performing. It doesn't matter, like at what level you are in the company. You need to start thinking about leadership like from day one, because even if you're at the bottommost rung and you're doing like a very monotonous job, like you're still going to become a leader one day. And you need to start acquiring all these skills, I think, from day one. And always think of yourself as a leader, because a huge block comes from yourself. Like you kind of block yourself out, you assume you'll never become a leader. So I think these kinds of mental blockages need to be removed first. You will first have to want it. I think that's 50% of the battle. You have to want to become a leader, and you have to want to like learn things, and the rest will just follow. You'll find ways to always teach yourself new things.
That's a very strong point. Very inspiring, definitely. Yeah. Pooja, you want to add anything to that?
I think at LogiNext, like I said, we have been like firm believers of demonstrating rather than forming policies and having them sit in files and emails. So if you look at the kind of leadership that we have, so like Jaya was saying that we have like a lot of scarcity of women leaders at the top. We do have like a lot of women employees coming in at at entry point positions. So at LogiNext, we have our founder is a woman, our technology is being led by women, our product is being led by a woman employee. We have our customer success team led by a woman employee. So when we have a HR, admin, these key functions also led by women employees. Now, when you have all of these, right, you really don't need to form a mentorship program because it's all inbuilt, and it speaks a lot about the organization. It speaks a lot about equal opportunities, because we do have male leadership as well. So it doesn't mean that we're actually aggressively focusing on pushing women to the top, but we're giving them opportunities if you have the skills and if you have the appetite to take on such roles. So when you demonstrate all of these things, I think it becomes very easy to not only work in such a happy place, but also get the motivation and get the confidence that you can rise to the next level as well.
Definitely. Gunjan, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think, you're right? And Chaya pointed out the statistics, right? There is definitely a leaky bucket that we are facing, especially in technology, right? And you've been a technologist, Vishakha, you know how difficult it is, especially in today's time where technology is changing so fast, it's very hard to keep up, right? I have seen a lot of women drop out, right? Because they're not able to cope up as a technologist specifically, right? In this day and time. And I think for that, like you said, right, programs that are will help. We actually have something that we are very proud of. I'm personally very proud of that program called WAPSI. It is specifically designed for women who have taken a career break for whatever reason. They've taken a career break and want to come into the industry back as a technologist. Right, so we have this boot camp that has been designed for over 4 weeks, where they actually get familiarized with the technologies that are getting current right now, so that they feel that they're not losing out on stuff. Obviously, that has to be coupled with self-learning, like Jaya was saying, right? So you have to push in yourself, and but we provide mentors, trainers, people who have actually been on engagements, and then they can actually help us, help them familiarize technology as well as the way of working itself, right? Just getting back, easing it back into the workplace as such. And then we see that almost, I think over the last 4 or 5 years, almost 200 women have gone through these programs. And I can easily say that almost 80% of them would have secured good jobs within ThoughtWorks or outside of ThoughtWorks as well, right? So I think that is something that I really feel that back to work sort of programs really help fix that leaky pipeline. The other one is also like women in leadership positions itself, right? We are a little bit hesitant, and we'll say that it's to take on more, I would say, responsibility than we are already doing. As such, right? So there is a hesitance in women to actually pick up those leadership roles. And Pooja was saying and Anu was saying, right? Like, I think everybody has to look at themselves. Jaya said that as well, right? Everybody has to look at themselves as a leader, and then that sort of thing happens. But we have had special leadership programs designed for women at a global level. I was part of one of them, and which actually exposed, for me, all the opportunities that had been laid out at a global level as well. Getting mentors, again, not just from the country, from the region, but again from outside of the organization and inside the organization across the globe. And we've actually done that at a regional level, at an office level, even at a community level, right? Having those programs. So that has percolated down now to actually make sure that we have created that peer network, like Anu was talking about, and created that mentorship across various levels for women. So I think those things have really, we have seen results. And now we can actually see, women taking up head of technology roles in the company. Our CTO is a very respected woman called Dr. Rebecca Parsons. It's been my role model. But those things actually really have helped create that or hold that leaky bucket for at least in the organization. And we've seen whenever we go and talk about WOPSI, we actually see a lot of resonance from other companies as well, right? To say that, okay, fine, we want to do something like this. We want to actually get more women back into the workforce. How do we do that sort of a thing, right? So there have been talks about partnership and doing things together, and how do we actually take it to the community. So yeah,
wonderful. And I think one point to add to that is one problem that I have been personally facing is I find lesser women in technology. So we've got clear ladders for management and technology, but I feel that not too many women take up the technical roles. Not too many women become principal scientists in a company. And that is one problem that we're trying to address. We provide, all the senior technical women provide mentorship for women who are thinking about moving up the technical ladder or moving into management. Now, moving into management, leadership is there in both the ladders, but moving into management should be a choice, I feel, and not a natural career progression. I switched into management after 16 years of being a programmer. And because I thought that I should, I probably will make a better impact now with being into management. So there has to be some motivation behind those switches and not a natural career progression.
I think, Vishakha, to that point, a lot of women employees have this kind of what if, what next, right? And I think a lot of these questions are Gunjan was saying about what happens if I get the promotion? Will I lose lose a lot of sleep over the deadlines of the projects, etc., etc. And I think it's also important to go, like, for us women leaders to go outside the programs that our organization are running and identify such people who have those inhibitions, because you always are looking out, looking at people, and we're trying to identify the next leaders. And if we're able to even guide them individually, if we're able to guide one woman employee to get out of that hole, or which they're living in their head, I think that's going to go like a far way, rather than waiting for organizations to run such programs and look for outcomes once they succeed, right?
Absolutely. And a very important point that Jaya mentioned is about upskilling and reskilling. I think with the changing technical landscape and automation, there's always this risk of displacement. And I'm sure, all of you would have faced this issue with the unified engineering approach, where all the white box QE roles were displaced. And we see that happening with the technical landscape. What are your thoughts on it? And probably Aishwarya can start on that.
Yeah, sure. So I think Jaya made a very important and crucial point, right? In this age where things change so fast, especially in technology, I don't think any of us, women or men otherwise, right, can afford to not learn continuously. And there's a host of material out there for you to learn. Today, you can just choose to learn about anything at all and find a great course online and equip yourself with it. So that should be on every individual's agenda, absolutely, right? But there is also the other side. Success stories aren't built in isolation, right? While there is a lot of stuff that we as individuals can do, I think there is great merit in organizations focusing on creating systemic structures to enable this for all of their employees, and especially for, let's say, women who go on a break and are coming back to, employment. There are a lot of places where really good candidates can drop out of the funnel, and it's in the organization's interest to make sure that it does not happen, and it holds on to its really valuable people, right? I also have a very different view on how we look at breaks and how we look at skills, right? Today, if let's say somebody goes off on a 1 year or a 2 year sabbatical for raising their newborn, or maybe on a travel trip or something, we consider that a break in their in their career. We absolutely discount the kind of experience that that person would have picked up during this time, right? I mean, I have taken a sabbatical for both maternity and for running my business, and the learnings in both are immense and steep and not very dissimilar, but we don't really consider that. And by neglecting that, organizations tend to not leverage the new person that has emerged out of that break, and we tend to focus on, hey, but she or he missed out on these technical skills, and those are the only skills that are important to me, and I'll focus on that. I think we need to broaden that perspective a bit, because any of us who's worked for some time knows, whether you're an engineer or a marketer or a manager, there are certain amount of soft skills, stakeholder management skills, and leadership abilities, no matter what position you're in, that you have to bring to the table, right? Whether you're a manager or an individual contributor, irrespective of that, you don't really work in isolation. It's very rare to do that, and we need to kind of balance these kind of skills out. But having said that, organizations should absolutely support proper onboarding for people who come back from breaks. For example, at Flipkart, we have a mom on board kind of program where new moms who come back to work are taken through multiple different kinds of mentorship programs, paid mentoring, and online courses to equip them to come back in full force when they come back to the teams, right? What also helps is, when you're on a break, you kind of experience an incision from your team. You're completely out for 1 year, but including these people in informal settings to make sure they're a part of the team, this team still remembers them, that, that kind of carries on, makes a lot of difference for people who are coming back. And that will also enable them, in addition to the technical skills that you give them, that will enable them to integrate more, successfully back when they, rejoin the organization.
Totally agreed. And I think I would like to quote one thing, and this is like a personal opinion, but we generate a lot of documentation. So all our meetings, all the work that we do, we love creating documents. So it's all there. So even if somebody is on a break and really wants to be connected, that person is connected all the time. And I do have a story to tell about one of my colleague who went on a maternity leave for 6 months, and she, when she came back, we did not think that she ever left. On day one, she was productive. And what enabled her to do that is definitely some of the programs and the time allocated, empathy, a budget for learning or taking up courses, and time allotment. And that time is allocated from your work hours to, upskill yourself, or, get into the workforce and all of that. So that's something great.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you just mentioned is a brilliant example of inclusion right there, right? As a company, you're not just saying, I'm open to moms coming back, but I'm actually creating an environment for them to be successful when they come back. I am very focused on creating avenues, opportunities, policies, whatever you call them, right? Networks that make them comfortable, and that actually make sure that both the organization and the employee gets benefited at the end of the day with those.
Absolutely. Anu, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, it is also in us to do that too, to be connected, to learn and to keep ourselves upskilled and then be employable when we come back as well. So it is a responsibility of the individual who's taking the break also, if they are going to continue in this service, to be focused. I mean, spend little time at least to upskill and then come back, so that you will be get into the more direct, I mean, without much of a gap, right? So that is very important. The one other thing I also feel it's very important is that, it is not about uh, you know the point that I'm trying to make is, if you are in a leadership role as a woman, and you have a position, you will be very few in that area. For you to be open and speak up and help the people below you to also come to that is very important. That is, a lot of times we are struggling with our own problems for us to stabilize ourselves amongst our peers, and then prove ourselves amongst our peers, and then be seen there, and then be successful there. That's one. But what we also need to take little time out is to see the people with us, to see how we can help them also to come into that same position. I think consciously we have to do it, and we owe it to, we have several leaderships, like Jaya was talking about several leaders that we can look up and who have written books and all of that. We may not be great in writing books, we may not be a great examples like that, so open in the society. When somebody goes in Google, maybe we will not even be figuring there. But in our own organization, in our own department, in our own small groups, what we can do is help the people who are struggling to also to come up, right? At least each individuals take up that as a goal and then do it. A lot of things will change. That is something that we need to do. We need to spot talent, we need to support them, see where they are struggling, and then help them out, right? With break or without break, it doesn't matter, but help people. That's very important.
Definitely. And I think, Pooja, you took a sabbatical for a year, um, and you said that you came back at the same level.
Yes.
That's something.
Yeah.
So how did you achieve that?
So I think, like Aishwarya was saying, that it's very important. I was a break from a corporate life, but I wasn't like sitting at home doing nothing, right? Even that has an experience, right? So I did, move on to take a more creative role, right? I was practicing artist over there, and for 1 year. So when I decided to go back, I had two options. Either I go back to the same company, my previous company would welcome me with open arms, or do I explore and find new experience areas and new learning areas? And that's where I met Manisha from LogiNext, and we spent 40 minutes, out of a 2-hour conversation, discussing the new me, right, and how and what what additional value would I get on the table, and how did that break really changed me, and how my perspectives changed, what is it that I learned, and what is it I'm able to contribute more. And I think that those conversations really give you the confidence to take on new challenges very easily. So I think organizations need to really start having those conversations. I myself never had those conversations early on when I was taking, when I was looking at employees who are trying to work, coming back to the workforce. But everything is a learning. So, these things have to be taken into consideration. Now, when you're getting employees back to the workforce at leadership levels, example is me, you have to understand that when they were at leadership levels, they were taking decisions worth hundreds, thousands, millions of dollars, and impacting hundreds of lives of the subordinates employees and their colleagues. Now, when you're at that position does have like an emotional wear off, right? And with that emotional wear off, you have a lot of learnings from the mistakes that you do, and how those learnings can be tapped into, and how do you get your higher EQ to work in favor of not only other women employees, but employees in general. And when organizations are able to tap or understand this kind of potential from employees and hire them, I think they are sending like a wider message to other employees in the organization. And not only that, they're sending message to fellow corporations that I am being bold, taking this decision. Sure, you can be too. So it's a message that is to a wider audience, not only to your internal employees. Now, when I update my LinkedIn, there are like 1,000 people in my connection who know, and they know, oh, LogiNext did hire a person at a leadership position after a year's break, and that sends a message, and that's a very valuable message.
Absolutely. It's a very, very valid point. And we don't see too many examples of that, but some of these examples are very strong, and I'm sure it does help. Gunjan, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think on the upskilling part of it, right? For me, again, my personal experience has been that the best upskilling that I've actually had is basically based on the roles that I've played or the on-job training as such. So very important to give the right kind of opportunities to people to actually put that trust in them and give them the space to learn. But that's 70% of what learning comes in. 30% has to be structured and and self-learning as well. And like Jaya was saying, right, MOOCs are on the rise. I mean, everybody is looking at a self-paced learning at this point of time, right? Has to be some, and organizations are doing that, right? They're giving courses from Udemy free, Coursera free. They have these big, partnerships going on that give everybody in the organization an opportunity to learn at their own pace. But at the same time, I think learning from practitioners is extremely important as well, right? So in ThoughtWorks, we actually do these things called boot camps, where we actually, if there's a new technology, you've learned it. The expectation is that if you've learned it, you'll actually make sure that other folks will also learn, right? So you'll have a three-day to 2 weeks sort of program designed where you'll have trainers and people can sign up, depending on their own convenience and, negotiating with their projects to say, okay, fine, I want to go learn this particular new skill or this new technology as such. So I think those things will make a huge difference as such. Just on the leadership thing, right? I think there's one story that is very close to my heart because I've seen that person very closely. She's a good friend of mine. When she took a break for maternity as such, right? One of the very good things that happened when she came back, she was offered a chief operating officer position within the organization after she came back from maternity. So she got a leadership position, post coming from maternity, right? Going back to Aishwarya's point, Aishwarya very beautifully articulated, right, to say that what more she was bringing in, right? And that was the basic understanding at that time as well, right? That she's actually bringing in much more than what she had within her kitty, so to say, right? Before she left for maternity break as such. So I think that is something that is very heartening. Like Pooja said, it created a lot of positivity in the environment as such, right? In terms of saying that what is possible, right? And what we should be looking at, skilling, upskilling, higher EQ, and obviously hard skills and soft skills, being equally placed within the organization when it comes to taking up bigger roles within the organization. So yeah, very positive, and thanks, Aishwarya. I mean, I was very, very impressed by what you said.
Thank you. And I've also noticed the D&I teams in each of these organizations, right, play a really, really crucial role in making that really important but slight shift in thinking. Because a lot of us think we are unbiased, we are gender neutral, but that's not necessarily the case. I mean, there's centuries of unconscious bias we bring with us, right? It's presumptuous to think that we don't have it. So we're at Flipkart, we're exposed to a lot of workshops, right, from the CEO to the employees on how these unconscious biases play out, how we should make sure we don't take that to hiring, to performance appraisals, to handing out assignments, how not to make assumptions on, hey, can I give this assignment to this person? Do you think she'll do it? Do you think she may not be able to do it? This is something that you build brick by brick, right? It doesn't happen in a day. The intention happens, but the actual result and the culture takes a lot of time to build, and you have to be at it year in and year out. I've been at Flipkart for 3 years, and I already see a sea of change that the D&I team has brought in. And it's heartening to see many women in roles that are traditionally for men, right? Whether it's in supply chain, leading really cutting edge tech automation teams, etc. So yeah, that's I feel very happy about all the positive changes, both at my org and hearing from all of you. That's good sign.
I think like Pooja said, right, we should be looking for potential. Obviously, skills is something that is there, but we might lose out on candidates just because we don't see that they have a potential to grow. And we should keep that in mind. I think as female leaders, we have, like Anu said, right, we are in a unique position to influence the culture of a company. So as an individual, I feel that, if I'm looking out for, if someone's in need, if some female is out there, I think networking, that's what it is, right? Networking is important for me to grow and for someone else to, come to higher positions as well, to get them opportunities. I think as females, we need to network and network with females who can mentor them. And in such cases, peer groups help. So, yeah.
Definitely. And on the point of, upskilling, Shraddha, you've moved into management recently. What are your thoughts on, a constant learning and upskilling? And how do you enable your team to do it?
So for my team, I think I asked them mandatorily to read a tech article every day. Be it a male or the female, right? It is important to upskill. You just can't just be sitting there doing what is being told to you. It is important that curiosity, that, okay, I'm doing this, but why am I doing this? That becomes really important. And that curiosity will take you a long way.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I just want to add one point here, which is, the fear of displacement. I don't think it's reserved just for women. It applies to men. It, in fact, applies to companies also, when you really think about it. In fact, like startups that keep up with trends are the only ones that survive. And the ones that make trends are the ones that thrive. Right? I mean, that's the norm and that's the law of nature. So you have to keep upskilling yourself, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're a company, you always have to stay ahead. And the world only rewards the ones who are always upskilling and are trying to build things for the future. So I think that's something we all need to remember.
Definitely. And I think as leaders, one more thing that I keep doing is having a vision of what's changing or what's coming in the future.
True.
And asking my team to, start looking at things. Technologies is something that I have a constant eye on, and the projects that are coming, I have a greater vision than them. So I can just, guide them on which direction to proceed and what skills to keep adding. So that's something that I do on a very regular basis.
Yeah, that's important.
All right. Cool. I think we're about time. Thank you so much for all those valuable inputs. And I was ferociously writing everything down. So thank you so much. And I'm sure the listeners find a great value in this.
Thanks, Vishakha. Thanks, everybody. It's really nice meeting you all here.
It was a great 1 hour. Thanks, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely.
Nice
Thank you
meeting
so
all
much.
of you.